When you're able to do this and you put it either over insulation, this is what you get. Not only are you going to reduce your utility bills anywhere from 20 to 40%, but you equalize out the temperature in the home from wall to wall and from ceiling to floor. It'll hold it within 2 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty even. Now, for cold climates like you guys are in, it's a great thing to put under the floor, especially if you have a heated floor like Derek has here, because you're going to directionally control the heat right back up. You're not going into your crawl space. It's coming up. But on floors like this, without the heated floor on, the floor it will be within 2 degrees, and you can walk on it without your, having shoes or socks on, and it's like a warm floor. So it's a pretty big deal. Some of the first people that bought these products were in Colorado, and the guy calls me up and he says, you know what? I have a granite floor. He says, every morning when I go to make my coffee, I have to put on my slippers, and he says, the floor is like a piece of, ice. He says, I don't do that anymore. He just couldn't believe it. So those are one great way that to utilize a product. The material always has to go to the outside, because not only is this a tremendous reflector and insulation, but it's a perfect vapor barrier. Okay. Now, on the other side, whenever you guys get a chance to look at it, this would be the way you'd put it in. You would come over all your studs, and then you pack your fiberglass against it. And here's the great thing about that. As you have your fiberglass or your cellulose or your rock wool or whatever you have in the ceiling, as your heat rises, you're trapping it, just like we did here in the fiberglass, and it's coming through. And when it hits that, it constantly re-radiates back into the room. 80% of your heat gain and loss is in your attic deck. Okay, I mean, you can put it in the walls and it makes a big difference, to that degree, but 80% of your heat gain and loss is in the attic. So if you can just put it in the attic, you control everything. Now, because it breathes, it's not where we talked earlier about having to have fresh air exchanges. It's not that tight. Okay, it's not like spraying foam in, so it actually will breathe. And we've never really had any of the mold or mildew or any of those issues that associated with foams or anything like that. And I know that in talking with one of the builders here today, that's a big issue up here. And if you don't put a fresh air exchange in it, and if you don't use the fresh air exchange, it's still not going to do you any good. So whether you do it in this kind of construction or in metal buildings, we actually have guys that do the same type of heating that Derek has on the floor here, but instead of using a mat, they use hot water, and by encapsulating the building, these are garages that these guys build. Again, the temperature is that even on a 20-foot ceiling. I mean, I've gone all the way up on a forklift. I have a digital fluke thermometer. I've measured that temperature. It's still within 2 degrees. So for people that are working on concrete or different areas like that, as you get to be older, standing on concrete all day long, it'll just, kick the life out of you. And to be able to lay any place on a floor or stand on it and not be cold, that's a great thing. It's a real great thing.